On today's episode, we're making chickpea and hearts of palm cake. We are talking all about the chickpea. I'm going to show you fun and fast ways to transform the chickpea into something that will dazzle.
Let's get gussied up, y'all.
Okay, let's get started with those chickpea and hearts of palm cake. And you start by chopping up your chickpeas and your hearts of palm. What you're trying to do with this is mimic the texture that you usually see in a seafood cake or a crab cake or something like that, right? I also have nori here. This is roasted seaweed. I've crushed it up with my fingers, and what I'm gonna do is add that so I get a little bit of the flavor of the sea without adding any of the little creatures of the sea. So isn't that the perfect time to do the jellyfish? All the jellyfishes to the dance floor. All the jellyfish to the dance floor. All the jellyfish to the dance floor. All the jellyfish to the dance floor. You just throw that into your food processor before you put in your chickpeas or your hearts of palm. That's about one large sheet or 4 of those little tiny snacking sheets. A can of drained chickpeas. These have been cooked. I bought them from the grocery store that way. Feel free to cook your own chickpeas. And then 2 14-ounce cans of hearts of palm drained. This is how they come. They come in spears. These are delicious if you bread them and fry them. They're crazy good. But today we're gonna chop them up. Like we just dropped those in. If you don't have a food processor, it's okay. You can still make this recipe. You just have to do a lot more chopping. I'm pulsing so that the stuff at the bottom doesn't turn to mush before the stuff at the top gets chopped. Just pulse it. Pulse, 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 pulse. You're really trying to just like shred this up a little bit so that everything is kind of like the texture of flaked or crab. See how there's some like smaller bits at the bottom and some larger bits at the top? This is gonna absolutely mimic what you think of as a traditional crab cake. Okay, so from the chickpeas, I reserved 4 tablespoons of the aquafaba, or the liquid that the chickpeas are kind of hanging out in. If you don't have that, you can use an egg. I'm just gonna whip this up. And it'll get real foamy. This is a balloon whisk. It adds more air, easier. It's also really good for thick batters. Like you wanna add in some liquid to a super thick batter, a balloon whisk is really nice for that. Okay, we have those kind of whipped up, looking good. We're gonna add in 1/4 cup of vegan mayonnaise or traditional mayonnaise, either one is fine. 1 to 2 teaspoons of Dijon. You can kind of decide on how much Dijon you like. It's gonna add a little bit of kick, but then also a nice little zip. Whenever you're talking about vegetarian food, there are a ton of flavoring ingredients that you put into a crab cake that we can also put into a vegetarian crab cake, right? So if you get a vegan Worcestershire, which this is, teaspoon of that goes in, a teaspoon of seafood seasoning. Seafood spice is a ton of the flavoring agent that you have in any kind of a crab cake or a vegan crab cake. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to replace the flavors that we typically find in a traditional crab cake into our vegetarian crab cakes. Okay, a little bit of salt, a little bit of lemon, because whenever you think of seafood or crab cakes or whatever, you think of lemon, right? So let's put a little zest of lemon in. Whisk all of those wet ingredients together. Now, we go in with our chickpeas and hearts of palm. There's also that nori in there, don't forget, that's adding the flavor of the sea. So here's what I like about this. You could do this with just hearts of palm. You could also use artichokes, that would be fine. You could also use jackfruit. All of those things are gonna have a similar flavor. But what I like about this so much is when you add in that chickpea, you actually are adding protein to this dish. This becomes an entree instead of just an appetizer. So now it's pretty moist, right? We also wanna add in something to dry, because anytime you're making a crab cake or a vegetarian crab cake or any sort of a cake, you add in dry. So 1 cup, I like a seasoned breadcrumb. 1/2 cup of green onions, a couple tablespoons of chopped parsley. Now we give this a little stir. If your mixture gets too warm, throw it in the refrigerator and it makes them easier to form. But usually, if you've worked fast, like we have, you can go straight from mixing to forming and frying. What? Put about a 1/2 inch of oil into your skillet and heat it up over medium low. So you want it to come up about 1/4 inch up those cakes. Just use any kind of a neutral oil that has a high smoke point. Let's form and fry. I'm using a portion scoop. This helps make sure everything is consistent. And then into my hand, I take the top and kind of press it down. I use my middle finger and the inside of my thumb right here to kind of create a flat side. Then you put it into a little bit of our breadcrumbs, and you end up with this gorgeous little crunchy on the outside and super tender plus flavorful on the inside chickpea and hearts palm cake. It's a mouthful, but it'll also be a mouthful when you eat it, so that's good. Okay, let's check our oil to see if it's hot. That means our oil is hot, hot, hot. Oil's hot, hot, hot. We are ready to go in with our crab cakes. So we've built a few, just roll them and drop them. Boom. Hello, princess. This is gonna make about 12 cakes, which is really, really a lot for Derek and myself. Typically, I'll freeze half of them. Just as soon as it comes out of the breadcrumbs, I put it onto a sheet tray that's lined with parchment paper, and I freeze them. And they'll last in the freezer for like 3 months. And then whenever I need something, I'll throw into my toaster oven and have crab cakes ready to go. I keep calling them crab cakes, but they're not crab cakes. They're like vegetarian crab cakes. But are people searching for chickpea and hearts and palm cake, or are you searching for vegan crab cakes? So it's a tough thing when you're talking about vegetarian food, figuring out exactly how to name it. Like Derek, one of his pet peeves is when things are called chick-in, as though like all vegetarians and vegans just don't know how to spell. I wanna know your thoughts. Leave them in the comments below. And while you're at it, if you're enjoying this content, please subscribe to our channel. We're coming out with new vegetarian recipes every single week, and we would love for you to be part of our community. All right, let's flip. Yeah, you ready to flip? Who's ready to flip? I'm ready to flip. Are you? Woo! Ow, 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 ow. Boom. I was trying to make a show where I wasn't goofy. I was like, hey guys, I wanna seem cool, I don't wanna seem goofy. Nobody makes me do that, that just happens. I realize now that it's not the editor's fault, it is my fault for doing things like flip it down, flip it in, flip it down, flip it in, flip it down, flip it in. Ooh, ow. These are gonna cook for about 4 to 5 minutes per side. Once you start to see a little bit of brown on the sides, it's time to flip. Look how good those look, y'all. You wanna fry these kinda low and slow because they need a total of about 15 minutes. Just enough time for the outside to get crunchy, but also for that aquafaba to set up. And you're gonna end up with something that's still nice and tender, but crispy on the outside from all of our breadcrumbs. Look at that angel. Just put them onto a cooling rack over top of a sheet pan. I usually fry off 6 and then freeze 6. I have an aioli that I put a little bit of pesto in. Look at this, let's put a little bit on there and try this. Look at that, so much gorgeous little texture. Steamy hot and delicious. The inside has all of those flavors that you think about in a traditional crab cake. So you have your seafood seasoning, then you have the flavor of the sea from that nori. There's a beautiful crunch on the outside, and because we use our food processor, there's a nice like crumbly texture, but holds together, just like a crab cake. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time on Gussied Up. Bye, y'all.